Welcome to the Insider Election Special. We brought together representatives from the three main parties and also a couple of entrepreneurs to discuss the big issues that were facing business in the 2010 general election.
I fear that if we followed David Cameron's advice and, quote, got rid of all of that regional stuff, that it wouldn't result in empowerment of local areas. It would suck power back to Whitehall, as used to be the case.
Well, I actually have never been a fan of the RDAs that we have. I believe they are quite fundamentally undemocratic and fundamentally unaccountable as well. We have an extra layer of bureaucracy which actually quite often gets in the way of effective delivery where we need it on a cost-effective basis.
The first thing I'd say is, what do they do? Because I started my business in 1996, and although as you get older and you get more wiser and get to know a lot more people, and you start to get into the right sort of cliquey circles that might get you some funding. But as a start-up business, you get no help from the RDA whatsoever. So really, from an SME point of view, RDAs are irrelevant.
So whether it's an enhanced AGMA or whether it's an RDA, it's very important for this region to have some sort of regional governance because we are a labor market area that goes beyond Bolton or Oldham or Manchester. We're all in it together.
It has to be said that one thing we have committed to in here is, first of all, any new regulations get a sunset clause, which means that unless they're actively renewed, they will disappear in the fullness of time, because we're well aware of regulation after regulation appearing. The other thing that we're actually going to be doing is making it quite clear that if we bring in any new regulation that affects business, we're going to get rid of one.
I think it's about creating a good business environment, and I do personally agree with what's behind the question, that the Treasury, I think the orthodoxy of the Treasury isn't as business focused as I would like it to be, because it's innately cautious, which I understand, and as sort of a taxpayer I quite like that, but as an entrepreneur I think it should be a bit less cautious. I think the risk in this election is that you're facing, if the polls are right, political instability, which will transfer for the first time in 30 years to economic instability. And that's the decision the public have to, I believe, understand and take. But on this idea that there is a black hole in plans, of course, one's projections in government, just like in businesses, are based on assumptions of incomes, which themselves are based on assumptions of investment. But our track record of economic forecasting is pretty good. And compared to the commentators in the press who were the first to criticise us, they are superb. So I think it's a question of getting the balance right. How do we avoid the threat of the double dip economy is the biggest question economically facing us. But in terms of the plans that we have, they're there and they're solid.
Well, I think the only thing that anybody can be certain of at this moment in time is that the plans that have been put forward by the government, that we can carry on spending our way out of this, is completely unfounded.
We've actually had from the government what amounted to a virtual budget. It was a budget that was put forward late, at a time when they must have known that they couldn't possibly get the bulk of it through Parliament in time for the general election. It was less of a budget, more of a wish list.
The truth is that the mechanisms through which 1% increase in national insurance or 2.5 percentage point increase in value added or certain tax cuts filter through the economy are very complex, hard to predict, and economists themselves disagree.
We feel that we should be turning our industrial heartlands that have suffered so much in recent years around to actually be using that engineering expertise and producing those green energies.
We did put in for a grant for green technology within our business. Right. We didn't get it because we had too much cash in the bank. Right. So, you know, it's, you know, again, we run our business really well, we're cash rich, yet we don't get supported when we try and do green things.
For the North West, with great potential here, you know, on an EU level, we will have in time our electricity being supplied from the sun in deserts in Morocco. And I want to make sure that the North West is at the forefront of not just developing those technologies, but actually delivering them, and us economically growing from that as a result as well.